but I've seen it in other people's lives. So I just encourage you, like that song we sing so many times, don't stop praying. That's what we got to do. Sometimes I know sometimes we get discouraged. Sometimes it's like, God, I don't even understand. Why am I going through this? But I just want to encourage you and tell you, don't stop praying. God answers prayers. Brother Gene said it yesterday. It may not be the way we like it. Sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no, and sometimes he says not yet. You're going to have to wait for a minute. So hopefully, Brother Dan's been sick for a lot. He gets better, and then he just it's just kind of been up and down with Dan. Mark told me Friday they was going to be here, and then in fact he was going to get a haircut. Him and Dan both, and then before noon they were both sick, or Dan was sick again, and so just been going through a lot of just up and down. And kind of like Sister Berta, with about 3 weeks or 4 weeks there, she was sick, and I know that a lot of people have been kind of up and down, and so. But anyways, that's where they've been. Keep them in your prayers. Definitely keep them in your prayers. They're doing okay. Just need a touch from the Lord. Warren, he's dealing with this sciatic nerve, so he needs lots of prayer. If you're making a list, put him on there. He wouldn't come up and ask for it, but he needs it anyways. But good to see you guys this morning. Everybody, I'm glad that you're here. I want to talk this morning about looking ahead. And I know that seems like a New Year's thought, but I just began thinking about that a lot. And, as a follower of Christ, we should be at least oriented towards the future, not the past. God's always standing in the future. God's ahead of us. We've got something to look forward to. It's calling us, we've got the hope, and we should never look back on regret. There's a lot of times that we look back and say, man, I wish I'd have done things different. Just this, when after I found out that Kevin had passed away, I was talking to his wife, Christine, and I said, I really wanted to go down and see him, but it never worked out, and I couldn't. I said, I really feel bad that I didn't do it. And she said, don't feel bad. She said, I know things happen. She said, in fact, she said, Kevin was saying, when you were in the hospital, I don't want to go see Dan, and he couldn't travel, and then the last little bit, it just didn't work out, so I could go see him, and I said, but I really feel bad about that, and she said, don't feel bad. He knew that you cared. He knew, because I had talked, not directly to him, but through family members, I had talked to him and checked on him and stuff. But he knew that I was checking on him, and I knew that he had been checking on me. But anyways, at first I was really bummed out, and I was feeling guilty. And when she said, "Don't feel guilty," things happen, life happens. And I wish I would have been down there to see him, but I wasn't able to. And sometimes that's the way it is. So I can't live in regret. I can't look back and put myself and start feeling guilty about not being able to go see him. But I also know that I need to move forward, and I can't just get hung up on the past. So I want to start out. Somebody said this, and I don't know who it was, but he said, everyone needs 3 things to live well: something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. It's like, wow, that's, and of course, as a preacher, when I first heard that, I thought, that'll preach. That's part of the problem being a preacher. You hear things and you're like, oh man, that'll preach. But you might say it's an occupational hazard that I have. Some things that people say things, and I'm like, oh man, I can use that one. And but everybody needs something to get out of bed for in the morning. You got to have something to get up out of bed for. And if nothing else, to get up and let your dog out. You got to have something to do. Got to have some reason to get up. Jobs fill up a lot of our time, and that's good. But even when you get to retire, you still need to have something to get up in the morning for. One thing that I've heard all my life is most people, a lot of people, when they retire, they don't live very long. because they don't have nothing to look forward to. So that's something that we got to have something to have, and like I said, even if it's just to let the dog out, we've got to have something. Uh, in retirement, you have leisure things that maybe your opportunities or something, that you want to do, activities, go fishing, go hunting, go do something. We got to have something to do. You can't just give up. There's got to be something that keeps you going. I was thinking of Brother Melvin. In fact, I'm just backing up a little bit. I knew that Brother Melvin, he made pins. He done a lot of stuff with woodworking. And Carla, one day she said, when you retire, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to relax for a little bit. And I said, I probably want to go fishing. I want to do some hunting. And she goes, okay, but you need to do something. You need to have something to do. Don't just stop. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. But it made me start thinking, what do I want to do? What do I want to focus on? Of course, being a preacher, the easy thing for me to focus on is when I retire from school, now I can focus on the church. I've still got something to focus on. So for me, it was easy. But I still need to have something besides work. You've got to have something to, and you guys, I've told you this before. I have a tendency to get focused on one thing, and I have to make myself, and I've got friends that say, hey, Dan, you're getting too focused on everything else. You need to refocus. And so I have to have help like that. But anyways, question is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Okay, for right now, well, this morning I had to get up and come to church because you guys expected me. I got to get up and come to church. I'll tell you what, though, there are some days it's like, I got to get up and go to church today. I'm tired. Right? I'm just being honest with you guys. There are some times that it's like, I don't want to. How many times have you said, when you were working, I don't want to go to work today. I don't want to go do this. I don't want to do that. There are some times that we just don't want to, but we get up and do it because we have to. Because we're expected to. Because you're preaching that morning. You have to get up and go. So next week, no, just kidding. Cassie has to get up and be here. But we have to have something, and everyone needs someone to love. And again, and the advice isn't about giving. It's not, and it's just not about receiving either. Because and I said this before, we like to be loved, but we also need to love. It's easy to receive love sometimes, but sometimes we need to love something. We need to give that love, and we need to be loved by someone, but sometimes that's not always in our control. Danny sent me a thing yesterday. It said had two guys sitting there, and one of them says, "Am I going to ever find love?" The other one says, "Only time will tell." And about that time, this guy shows up, said "time" on his shirt, and he said, "No." But we need to love others. But I can choose to love others. And even if it's simply a dog, I need to love something. And that dog that makes me get up in the morning and let it out. But the capacity to love is essential, and that's part of what makes us human. So let me just tell you a little story. When I was sick, I had one Sunday morning. Carla's cat had kittens, and we had one that the kids were calling Cupcake because she was white, and she had these little white little specks on her, and they was going to call her Speckles. But anyways, they ended up naming her Cupcake, and Carla said, "Is there anything you want before I head to church?" I was miserable. I was sick. I couldn't get out. I was so weak, and I just couldn't get out of bed. And I said, "I don't know." I said, "How about a cupcake?" And she's like, "We don't have any cupcakes." And I said, "Well, ain't that what you named that cat?" And I was going to just hold the cat, just because I just needed something to do. And so we kept Cupcake. We ended up with Cupcake, and that was my cat. That cat hates me. Okay, she tolerates me. But Carla's like, this is Dan's cat. I'm like, whatever. She sleeps by Carla. She'll come up and she'll hop off of Carla's lap, come walking by me. I'll reach out and she'll walk away. It's like, all right, I can take a hint. I don't know. But sometimes it's out of our control. But we need to have something that we love. And but we like to receive love. We have the ability to receive love, and even if you're closely related, you need to have that love. You need to have some kind of love. But today, what I want to focus on is everybody needs something to look forward to. This is the beginning of the year. We're halfway through January. Can you believe that already? Halfway through January already. I'm still waiting on 4th of July last year, and we're already in January of this year. But once we need to have something to look forward to. And I once read that make sure that, and I don't even remember where I read it, but it said make sure that there is something you look forward to every month on your calendar. At least one day, something that you look forward to. Whether that's going out to dinner with your family, having a family night, going out on a date, going fishing, going hiking, whatever. Have something that you enjoy, that you look forward to every month. And I would encourage you, if you don't have that, you need to find that. Have something that you look forward to. It can be something very simple, but have something that you look forward to every month. On this day, and it may be, you know what? That third Saturday of the month when we come and have breakfast. I am looking forward to that. If you can't come up with anything else, there you go. But you need to have something to look forward to. And, like I said, it can be, well, in reality, as humans are the only ones that's capable of even thinking about the future. When we need to have something that's filled with hope and not with dread. Robert Louis Stevens said, to travel hopefully is better than to arrive. So that's our challenge. Every year, that's what we should do. We should look forward and hope to what the new year is going to bring. Look forward to what this coming year is going to bring. There's got to be something that I'm looking forward to. There's got to be something that I'm excited about happening. And it ain't always easy. There's always challenges. There's disappointments. All through every year. You've got good things that happen, but there's bad things that happen every year. But we have to look forward to something. We have to look forward to that something good. And there's always two great truths about living as a follower of Christ. And that helps us look forward to each year with confidence. As a follower of Christ, we have no regrets. You can't have any regrets. Remember I said I was regretting not going and seeing Kevin? I can't let that focus make me fall apart. There's Saturday Night Live. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. I listened to a bunch of them, but it was Jack Handey, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey, and this is what he said. And basically, I don't remember exactly how it said, but it was basically, if you drop your car keys into a river of molten lava, don't stick your hand in to get them back, because man, they're gone. He had all kinds of crazy thoughts, deep thoughts like that. You get a chance, you should YouTube it. It's funny. He's got some funny ones. But in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, this is what it tells us right there at the beginning. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away, and behold what? All things have become new. Your old is gone. You're a new creature. You're a new creation. That old person that you were, and that's something that we struggle with. My old man, that old things, them old things that I used to do, them things, they're, I mean, and how many times, and Brother Carmen, the singer, he said, when Satan reminds you of your past, remind him of his future. I love that. But, past mistakes, thank God they're buried into God's forgetfulness. And in Psalms 103:12, this is what it says. Oh, that's not what I wanted. 103:12. But that's a good verse. Sorry, that was probably my fault. I was reading them off to Randy this morning, and I probably said 5 because I have a tendency to be dyslexic. As far as the east is from the west, so far has He removed our transgressions from us. Can you measure how far the east is from the west? No. Never stops. Now, the north from the south, you can only go so far north. I always wondered why, when I was a kid, I was like, why is it from the north and the south? Well, you can only go so far north, and then you're going south. You start going east, and you'll just keep going east. You never do run into west. So there you go. He'll never, it's never there. When He says, when we go back and we say, God, forgive me for what I've done, He forgives us. And then we go back and we say, God, forgive me for what I've done. And He says, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? What sin? I don't know. I don't remember that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she just said, what sin? Wrong song. But that's what it is. As far as the east is from the west. And we say, and how many times have we said something like, if I could do it over again, if I could just redo that, if I could have a do-over, I just want to do it over. If I knew then what I know now. But the reality is you don't, and you didn't, and you can't. So that's why regret is really a useless thing. It's an emotion that we shouldn't even have. As a Christian, we should just, because God's forgot it, I should let it go. When I've asked for forgiveness, it's gone. But don't go back and do it again. Just saying. So, God's promise is that He will use all things to bring His ultimate purpose in our life. Even the mistakes that you made, God's going to use them in your life. Have we make mistakes? Sure, we all do. We all have. Everything that's happened to you in your life has prepared you for what comes next. God can use that thing. And Romans 8:28, often misquoted and often misunderstood. 8:28. See, I was really messing with Randy today, apparently. Oh, let's go back to 8:28. It says, Romans 8:28. All right. Oh, that one's John. Well, I can read it. Okay. And we know that all things work together for good to them who love the Lord, who are called according to His purpose. I didn't even have to look at it, but I wanted you to see it. So that means everything that's happened to you, good or bad, God will take that situation and make it to your good. Does that make sense? All things. That includes everything. That word all, that means everything, right? So everything that's happened to you, everything that has gone on in your life, God's saying, I'm going to take that and turn it around and make it for your good. You're going to be a better person because of it. And everything, all things includes our own stupidity. Isn't that good news? Even when I do something stupid, God's going to take it and use it anyways. You know, we learn a lot more from our failures than we do from our successes. Brother Bergen, Lawrence Bergen, where Gene and Vinyl live, he used to say, experience is a school that only fools learn in. But he also said, experience is the best teacher. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if you have to experience to learn something, okay, yeah, you're going to learn it, but it's just you're going to have marks left over. A lot of times it does. But you remember that. So it is the best teacher. But so in God's economy, everything is everything. And everything belongs. In fact, in John chapter 6, verse 12, this is John's version of the feeding of the 5,000. This is a phrase of the miracle of multiplication. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. I mentioned it. Was when Jesus prayed over food, when he said he took the bread or when he took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he blessed it. A lot of theologians believe that he simply picked up the basket, lifted it up like this, and said, "Father, bless it. Pass it out." He didn't go into a long, drawn-out prayer saying, God, if you don't multiply this, we're going to have all kinds of problems. People are not going to eat. People are going to be hungry. They're going to think that... He didn't do none of that. He just said, bless it. So, right here is what I love, though. It says, so when they were filled, he gathered up he said to his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain so that nothing is lost. Another version says it this way. It says, gather up the broken pieces. The fragments, the broken pieces. Guess what? Sometimes I'm broken. Sometimes I've got broken pieces. And God says, I don't want to lose that. You may be a broken piece, and God says, I don't want to lose you. Gather them up. That's what spoke to me. Sometimes in life we have bad things happen, and we feel like I'm a waste. We feel like broken pieces in a scrap pile. Sometimes it's because of hurt that's done by others. Sometimes it's by our poor choices. But either way, I believe Jesus was saying, don't let it be wasted. Don't waste them. They've messed up, but that's okay. Bring them in anyways. Gather up the broken pieces. That's why when Paul said in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to the things which are ahead, I press towards the goal for the prize of the upward call of Jesus Christ. Forgetting the things that are behind me. I have to let them go. I can't let my past shape my future. And you can't either. Because God has something great in store for us. Second thing I've seen in that is as a Christ follower, he's shaped by our future, not our past. There's a book wrote in 1971. It says Beyond Freedom and Dignity. And they was trying to prove that human behavior is simply controlled by their environment or external factors. And this guy believed that no human being was able to make real choices about their behavior. They were just responding by the conditions that they had been conditioned to respond. And basically, it was saying we're like dogs, that you give them a treat when they're good, and whatever, shame them when they're bad or whatever. I don't know. I've never been able to train dogs. I guess telling them that you're a horrible dog does not help. I don't think they understand it. But so, I mean, really, if you think about it, yeah, I'm gonna get ahead of myself. Let me just go back. All right. As a follower of Christ, we have to experience, and we have experienced, that new creation, who we are. When we ask God to come into our lives, old things have passed away. Our past life, we should stop doing the things that we used to do, right? That's the whole thing with that. We want to be better. But we have to do it through God. We can't do it on ourselves. I don't have the ability to be good. I can try, but guess what? I'm not good. But we're in the present, and our present is determined by our future, not our past. In 1 John chapter 3, verses 2 and 3. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be, but we know that we shall, when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So let me back up here. So, all right. So it has not been revealed what we shall be. So you're going to become something, but you haven't been revealed yet. You're going to learn. You're going to know, but we will know that when he is revealed. When he reveals himself, when he comes back, we're going to be something more than what we are now. Okay? And then verse 3. And if everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure. So that hope that I have, who Jesus is, I'm not going to become a God, but I'm going to become like him. I'm going to become pure like him. And it's something that I look forward to. That's that hope. We have to have hope. If I don't have hope, then I don't have anything. Romans 8, chapter 24 and 25. For this hope, we are saved. For this we are saved in this hope. But hope that is seen is not hope. For why does one still hope for what he sees? So basically he's saying here, if I have this, I don't hope to get it because I've already got it. I have nothing to look forward to. At Christmas, I'm looking forward to what I'm getting, right? Or as a kid, I can see the package. It's out there, but I don't know what's in it. I have that hope. Right now, I've got this here, Kleenexes. I don't have nothing to hope for. I've got it. I already know I have it. What hope do I have? Right? Okay. But if we see what we hope for, but if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with perseverance. So again, it's something that I'm looking forward to, something that I've got coming, but I don't have it yet. Once I get it, then it's there. And then I have to look for something else to look forward to. Simple illustration, payday. I get paid on the 20th. I always look forward to around the 20th, 19th, 20th, because depending on where it falls, I get paid on the 19th or 20th. Something to look forward to. The other day, I got an early paycheck. Right? I didn't get any extra money, but they paid us on the 17th instead of, or 18th, whatever it was. They paid us early. I'm like, how cool is that? But I have something, but once I got my check, then I'm like, oh, bummer. I got to pay all my bills now. I don't have nothing to look forward to again. I'm looking forward to next month now. And it's just barely the 20th. So, hope for the future is what transforms us in the present. Now, that's what I was going to say earlier. Kid playing basketball. All summer long, they're practicing basketball, shooting hoops. All summer long, practicing free throws, practicing. Michael Jordan, just so you know this, Michael Jordan would shoot 100 free throws every night. If he missed one, he started again at 1. He would get to 99, miss one, start again at 1. You know why he didn't hardly miss a free throw? Because he practiced a lot. Yes. Now, with a kid practicing for all summer long for the season that starts in November, what are they doing? They're hoping to get on the team. Let me back up one more with Michael Jordan. His sophomore year in high school, his coach told him not to try out. He said, "You're a horrible player. You're not going to make it." Can you imagine what that coach said after he became a professional basketball player? He didn't let that guy discourage him. He looked forward to it. He kept practicing, and he became the player that he was because he kept working for more. He didn't just stop. And you know what? If you're out there shooting baskets, you're not waiting for somebody to give you a cookie every time you make one. You're still thinking, okay, I made this shot. Now I'm going to make this shot. Now I'm going to make this shot. Now I'm going to be on the team. I'm not going to be on JV. I'm going to be on varsity. Why? Because I practiced. I prepared. I made sure that I was ready. So your summer behavior was determined by his fall hope. So, another one. This one was, this is an interesting story. Well, Eugene Lang. He grew up in the slums of Harlem, but became a very successful businessman. In 1981, he wanted to give something back. He returned to his elementary school, and he gave a speech. He gave it to the graduating 6th grade class. And he was intending on telling them, if you work really hard, you'll succeed. That was his thought. That's what he was going to tell them. 6th grade class. If you guys work really hard, you can become like me and a successful businessman in the future. Well, this is what the principal told him. The principal told him that 3/4 of these kids would probably never finish high school. So Lang made an impromptu change to his speech. And he said he would give a full scholarship, or full college scholarship to any student who graduated from high school. What he was doing was offering these kids hope for a future. He also offered tutoring to help them find their local-based organizations and founded local-based organizations to provide further support. The result was this: 61 of the 61 students, 54 graduated high school, and 60% of them went to college and finished it. Why? Because they had a vision. They knew they had something to look forward to. Somebody gave them hope, exactly. I'm going to show my age here. Fleetwood Mac sang in the song, "Don't stop thinking about tomorrow." You know, if you do that, if you stop thinking about tomorrow, like I said at the very beginning, you're going to die. You don't have nothing to look forward to. We got to remember, like Brother Mark says, the best is yet to come. We've got to be reminded of that sometimes, you know. And you might say, but my plans never seem to work out. It doesn't matter. The plans themselves have the power to shape who you are in the present. You're planning to do something. You may not accomplish it. It may not happen, but you plan for something. Look forward to something. Plan on doing something. Otherwise, you're going to die. It's like asking a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? The answer really doesn't matter. And if they're like me, it changes almost daily. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a miner. I wanted to be a mechanic. I wanted to be a race car driver. I wanted to be whatever. It changed all the time. I will tell you this. I never once said I want to be a preacher. Just saying, God's got a sense of humor, so be careful what you ask for. But the important thing is to keep thinking about the future. When I first, I've told you this before, but when I first got into the ministry, my decision was I want to be the oldest youth pastor there ever is. I was like, man, I'm going to be 80 years old and being a youth pastor, it's going to be so much fun. And when I got here, I worked with the youth for a while, but then pretty soon it was like, I am way too old for these guys. This isn't fun anymore. It hurts. And it still does. And I still try, but it still hurts. But we got to keep thinking about the future. And I'll tell you what, let me just say this. A church that doesn't have kids, and I love that we have kids here. A church without kids doesn't have a future. So when kids act up or they run around or they don't get upset. I'm glad they're here. And don't get embarrassed if your grandkids or your kids are running around. I'm glad they're here. So that was a free one. That wasn't even in my message. All right. So let's look at Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to try to wrap this up. These all died in faith, not having received the promise, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. They didn't see it happen. Some of them didn't even see it happen in their lifetime. They didn't see some of the miracles. They didn't. But if I'll tell you what, if God makes you a promise, it's going to happen. You may not see it in your life, but God's going to make it happen. For those who say such thing plainly, declare plainly that they seek a homeland. And truly, if they had called to mind the country from which they had come out of, it would have returned. They would have the opportunity to return. When we start thinking about the past, when we start thinking about where we came from, guess what happens? You end up back there. If you're not really careful, you'll end up right back where you started. I don't want to go back. I want to go ahead. But it says but now they desire a better, that is a heavenly country. Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a city for them. As Christians, that's what we have to look forward to. That city. That's where I'm going. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's why when I was in the hospital and about to die, didn't know it, but I was at complete peace because I knew where I was going if I did. I knew that if I died, I would be with Him. I didn't want to. It wasn't like I wanted to die. In fact, they asked me constantly, "What do you want to do?" Well, I want to live. What do you want to do? I want to live. Well, you want to sign? No, I want to live. You want, and even Travis would ask me. He said, "What are you thinking, Dan? What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Well, are you giving up? No, I'm not giving up. I'm just tired. I don't want to do anything right now, but I'm not giving up. Even times Carla would say, "Are you giving up?" No, I'm not giving up. I just need a break for a minute. But I wasn't ever giving up. I'm kind of stubborn that way, I guess. Who said amen? But I knew where I was going if anything happened. So we have to live in confidence. Face the future with hope. We don't live with regrets of the past. Because if I lived with regrets of my past, man, what a miserable life I'd be, or I'd have. If all I thought about was, man, I messed up here, I messed up there. And that's what Satan does, though. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's the one that's reminding you of your past constantly. Remember when you did this. Remember when you said that. Remember when you done this other thing. Remember. And God's saying, hey, look ahead. Look where we're going. Look what you got to look forward to. Because we believe what Paul the Apostle said. All things bring about his good purpose in our lives. In God's economy, everything belongs. So, don't stop thinking about tomorrow, because that's where God is. He's waiting for us to join him in that bright future that he's created. We've got something to look forward to. They're back there saying, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Oh, all right. Well, in all that in mind, I think this would be a good time to go ahead and stop. And I've asked a few people to come help me with communion this morning. That's one event of the past that we're actually encouraged to remember. When you think about it, Jesus' death on the cross. That's where our hope is tied to. He tied the past, the present, and the future all together. In fact, the Apostle Paul said, as often as you drink this bread and drink this cup, that's the present. You proclaim the Lord's death, that's the past, until he comes, and that's the future. In case you had never caught that one. All right. If I get Brother Gene, Brother John, Brother Gary, Brother